And Chojja just really needs to mass up his forces. I think Chojja should just invest in a Defiler's Den. I think Chojja is being silly and not getting a Defiler's Den. And Chojja once again attacking, reinforcing Nara, taking that base with his forces at 3 o'clock. That's exactly what he needed to do. He needed to take an expansion. And Nara has now got his a large medic and marine force blocking that ramp. So Nara is going to be able to defend this. And that's brilliant play by Nara. He timed his attack into that base. He timed his taking of that expo at 3 o'clock very, very well. And he has taken it successfully. So Nara lives on to fight, and Chojja might regret trying to show off. Chojja might regret trying to humiliate. Chojja might regret not going for the jugular, not going for the kill when he had the advantage, and allowing Nara back into the game. Nara is very capable of fighting with just 2 or 3 bases against 4 or 5, even though you would feel that ultimately that would result in him being overwhelmed. Nara is very, very capable of holding it. Terrans are very strong in defense, and Nara is very, very good at it. And Nara now is going for another drop, this time with the 6 o'clock expansion, realizing that it's not just enough for him to defend, and he's irradiated those ultralists, and he's dropping from 2 dropships, so that Sunken is probably going to get taken down again. Those ultralists aren't able to get around to the marines, and Nara killing off the Sunken first, and the ultralists now come in range of the marines, but the ultralists get taken down without doing much damage at all, so he's going to lose this expansion. Chojja is going to lose the expansion at 6 o'clock yet again. So Nara doing a great job of hurting Chojja's economy, of not letting him pull so far ahead that he would be out of touching distance, even though I would have felt that that had already happened. I don't think Chojja is going to mind the loss of that base too much, because he has got an expansion at 12 o'clock and he has got a new expansion at 5 o'clock. So Chojja still has 4 gas, he still has 5 bases, and he's not going to be... Chojja is going for a big drop here. He's got that queen, and he's got about 7 overlords, and I'm sure they are filled with ultralists and zerglings, and Chojja is going for a big drop, and Chojja is going to be able to drop the 3 o'clock base. Nara only has a single turret at that edge there, and it just depends on where Chojja drops this. Chojja needs to scout this a little bit, and he has scouted it with the queen. Nara only has a handful of marines there, and Chojja casts ensnare on a group of marines. I don't think that was a very effective ensnare, and he also does a dual prong attack. His timing there was perfect. He had ultralists rush up that ramp, as well as dropping a lot of ultralists and zerglings on top of those medic and marines, and there is nothing Nara can do about it. Nara going for a counter drop of his own with those dropships. I'm not sure in which direction those dropships were heading. I'll have to check again to tell you that, but Nara going for a counter drop of his own, and he's actually sacrificing that expansion. There wasn't much he could do to save it anyway. Nara forced to lift that command center, and Chojja is now coming in with a massive group of scourges, and Chojja insisting on trying to humiliate Nara, and he is going to be able to, I think, do it this time. He almost killed the command center there. Chojja almost killed the command center, but his queen goes in. He has an infested Terran command center, so that is the absolute pits for Nara. Humiliation in this ace match between KTF and Pantech X, and Nara now dropping at the 5 o'clock expansion. So Nara continuing to pressure Chojja's economy, but Nara has got no minerals left of his own. He's not getting resources from anywhere else here, yet he continues to persist in fighting, and Chojja is now actually assaulting Nara's main, because Nara does not have a lot of units to defend himself. But that attack by Nara is going to be short-lived. He did not manage to take down the expansion this time. That expansion continues to survive, and so Chojja retains his lead. Nara still just barely hanging on by the skin of his teeth, hanging on by virtue of those 6 or 7 science vessels that he's accumulated and that have survived, since Chojja has been spending his Scourge on more frivolous pursuits, such as taking out dropships and infesting a Terran command center, and Chojja is just floating that Terran command center over, flaunting it in Nara's face, and that is just purely evil by Chojja. And Nara is now running out of resources. He doesn't have any more expansions. He doesn't have a base at 3 o'clock. That got taken out. He's run out of minerals in his main. He's now almost out of minerals. He's pretty much out of minerals in his natural, and I don't see how he can sustain this fight. I think he should call GG. I think he should now concede this game. I know it's an ace match, and it's going to be very, very difficult for Nara to concede this, and Chojja is literally just messing with his head right now. Chojja is being cruel, and there's absolutely no need for that. I'm sure Chojja feels the need to show off a little bit, considering he hasn't been in the best of form lately, considering he hasn't performed that well lately. I guess Chojja feels the need to show off a little bit, but there is really absolutely no need for it. And Chojja once again with those scourges trying to take down those science vessels, and he just has so many ultralists there, and it's just shocking that Nara is still in this game despite that. And again, Nara microing his handful of units very, very well, using those SCVs to block, using those science vessels to irradiate, and maneuvering those science vessels to avoid the scourges. So you have to give credit to Nara, the old soldier. And if I may make a fictitious comparison here, if I could compare Nara to a video game character, and I know that might be a little bit silly of me, but I would have to compare Nara to Solid Snake. He is the veteran soldier who turns up to fight for his country, to fight for his duty time and time again, and you can just call him and you know he will answer the call. It doesn't matter how many cuts and bruises he has on his body. It doesn't matter how bruised he was by the last fight. Nara will stand up and be counted and represent every single time, and you have to give him respect for that. You have to give him a lot of credit for that. Despite the beating he took from Yellow earlier in this matchup, in the first game of this matchup, Nara still volunteered, still came up to face Chojja in this ace match, and I'm sure despite the destruction he has had to face this time around, he will turn up again for the next match, and he will be just as confident, he will be just as sure, and he will perform just as superbly as he has always done for Pantech X. And even though this is a victory for Chojja, this is also a victory and testimony to Nada's sheer resilience as a player, to Nada's sheer determination and to his courage. And I have to salute Nada for his performance here today, even though he has lost a couple of critical mistakes by Nada, not pressing home his advantage early on in the game when Chojja's rush failed. That was his moment of victory, and definitely the two key moments of the game being firstly Nada's medic and marine assault, Nada's first medic and marine group getting taken out, losing that medic on the ramp. That was absolutely critical. Chojja microed brilliantly there and he took out that medic, and had it not been for that, this game would have been over 20 minutes ago. And also the fact that Nada was a little bit hasty in his push. He needed to push, but he needed to be a little bit more careful about his push. He positioned those siege tanks within the range of the Sunkens, got them picked off, and his push up the ramp of Chojja failed. And Chojja's Ultralist just chilling out in the middle of Nada's main, just not worried about a thang. And Chojja is trying to... Chojja just not content to take that Terran command center and infest it. He wants to humiliate Nada even further with infested Terrans, and I think this is just silly now. Chojja should end this game, put Nada out of his misery, and celebrate his victory with his teammates. He certainly deserves it. It really has been a great day for the old-timers today. I'm really glad to have seen Yellow and Chojja come back and perform so well, and it has been a breath of fresh air. It has been refreshing, especially since both games have been played with fairly unique strategies. You may argue that the strategies are not necessarily unique for the maps involved. You may argue that these are in fact old-timer strategies, out of touch with the current vein of StarCraft play. And Chojja yet again trying to drop that infested Terran in the middle. I think he should just drop it off and just run it into those SCVs if he's that desperate to do it. I don't know why he's just floating that Overlord over and allowing Nada to take it out. This is just a waste of time. Chojja needs to finish this game now, or Nada needs to type out. Nada with another drop now, this time at the 1 o'clock base. Even though Nada has been humiliated, he continues to fight, he continues to try and make a difference in this game, even though there's no way back. There was a point where Chojja's laziness and Chojja's intent to humiliate Nada may have done him ill, may have allowed Nada back into the game, but we are long past that point. We are long past the point of no return, and there's nothing Nada can do, and Chojja is just toying with him, just using him for his own pleasure, and just making an example out of him, I have to say, unfortunately. And Nada does not deserve this. Nada deserves more respect because he is a good player, and Chojja is a bit of a wanker for doing this, I have to say. And sorry about the cursing there, sorry about my French. So, but I was saying, you know, Chojja, it's great to see both Yellow and Chojja play again. It's great to see these unorthodox strategies, the 6 pool rush, you know, playing a 2 hatchery build against a Terran on this map, a Terran who has the same number of expansions as you and still surviving, putting up, and that was really a stroke of genius by Chojja, putting up those 2 expansions at the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock base for the extra gas rather than going for a land-based expansion. And it looks like this will be the finishing move from Chojja. This will be finish him. He's going to drop with his overlords in Nada's 5 o'clock base, which is just barely surviving. He's also going to rush up the ground, and Nada does not have enough forces to defend. He's forced to use those irradiates on those overlords, and this will be the end of the game. This is GG. That was actually a really, really great game, and Chojja finally gets to use his infested Terrans to try and take down that command center. He only has 2 infested Terrans, so I'm not sure if that's going to be enough, and it's not going to be enough. I think it would have been funnier if he'd actually run those infested Terrans into those SCVs. So GG, absolutely brilliantly played by Chojja, and Nada once again succumbing, and I really do feel his pain. I do honestly feel Nada's pain here. He did not deserve the kind of humiliation that he was at the receiving end of. He did not deserve to be made to look like a noob the way Chojja did. He is a better player than that, and I'm sure he will bounce back from this game. But it is good to see both Chojja and Yellow display some form, display some skill, and maybe this will be the start of something new. Maybe this will be the start of the resurgence of the KTF pros. We've seen Reach come back this season and play incredibly, even though Nalra has dropped off a little bit. Maybe we will see the beginning of Yellow and Chojja, and that would be fantastic. I am really looking forward to more games in the future from these guys. Hopefully the KTF coach will put them in the lineup. This is Klazar. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed that game. It was a fantastic